some mounting worry that the police were going to do something awful because they'd shot someone dead the day before, and they would need an excuse for how violent the whole thing had been. They need to catch someone and prosecute someone, so we thought they might raid our building. I personally thought it wouldn't happen because this is the media centre. It was the mainstream liberal protesters. I thought, why would they raid here? But there was this increasing feeling they might. I looked out the window and saw police in the street, so I thought, yes, the police are here, something is happening. I rushed inside and I thought, are they in the building I'm in? So I went over onto there's an entrance into the school there as the main entrance we were using, and I looked out the side window and it was deserted. There was no police, the door was locked, so I thought they're not in our building. So then I rushed back inside, told a colleague of mine, Marion, to take my tapes. The tapes we'd recorded over the last few days of all the police violence and the protesters, take them upstairs and hide them on the roof, just in case the police did come in. I then went up onto the roof too and recorded what happened in the street, which was quite a frightening experience really, because there was just hundreds of policemen just smashing down these gates, smashing the windows through the metal grating, smashing the windows. There was screaming from all round. They broke down the first door and stormed in like beetles, just hordes and hordes.
Wait a moment,
I rushed inside to find out whether the police were in the building, and then I went onto the roof because I thought I'd get a better shot from the roof.
Okay.
Because we were actually we were working in the media centre producing videos to be uploaded to the web and sent to America to show on American TV. So, we were actually sleeping, there was a kind of little entrance on the roof up there. We were sleeping in that space.
So you knew the roof?
I knew the roof, yes. And I thought, I'll go on the roof, it's safe, I'll get a good shot. I can find out what's going on. So after checking that the police weren't in this building, I went up the stairs onto the roof and started filming down here in night shot mode and infrared mode because it was dark. The police had just broken down the gates pretty much when I started filming, and they were rushing into the courtyard, just hundreds of policemen rushing in. There was no resistance to the police in the courtyard, there was no resistance out on the street. They smashed down this door directly in front of us, and then the police couldn't get in fast enough basically. There was literally 40 policemen with all helmets like beetles, just trying to get in there, with their riot shells and their truncheons. And then there was another crash and this door was smashed open, and then the same whole horde of policemen rushed towards the door. And again, just piled in like insects basically, just rampaging insects. And then there was just more screams, and I was starting to worry, if they were this violent over there, what were they doing here? So at this stage I stopped filming and rushed downstairs to find out what was going on. At the Indymedia Centre things had calmed down a little bit. It was pretty deserted by then. Some people had kind of built a small barricade, which was pretty pointless, but to block the door. I then went again to check. I came downstairs. There was nobody coming in here, but I went downstairs to check to see if there were any police in the building, and after 2 flights of stairs I met this very big fat policeman in full body armour with his truncheon coming up with a helmet coming up the stairs, out of breath, and he didn't look particularly dangerous, but I just kind of, so I just fled basically, up 2 flights of steps shouting, the police are in the building, the police are in the building, onto the roof.
Where did you hide on the roof?
Onto the roof, and then there was a police helicopter with a spotlight going around, so I just paused just for the spotlight to come off the roof, and then
Were you afraid?
Yes and no. I've got this strange sort of English sort of thing. The days before I was at the front line of riots with rocks coming one way and tear gas coming another, and I was there with my sandals and my straw hat. You just have this kind of Englishness about being involved in these things. It's not going to happen to me. I had a good friend, Marion. We were being very sensible. She was watching my back, and we were filming, and we left, the day before we left about 20 minutes. Riots with rocks coming one way and tear gas coming another, and I was there with my sandals and my straw hat. You just have this kind of Englishness about being involved in these things. It's not going to happen to me. I had a good friend, Marion. We were being very sensible. She was watching my back, and we were filming, and we left, the day before we left about 20 minutes before they shot the protester dead. So I think, I don't know, you just kind of... Yeah. Anyway, so we got onto the roof, and then I rushed over to the water tower, which is kind of a sunken sort of structure on the roof, with one of the windows didn't have any glass in it. And I just slipped into the water tower, and whispering, Marion, are you there? Are you there? She didn't answer. It was total silence, total darkness. So I crept along the water, through this passage, this narrow passage with the water tanks, until I got to the end where this little voice said, "Hamish, it's me." And I looked around and there was a space where there was one water tank missing, and she was hiding there. So we stayed there for 3-4 hours, basically, with horrible screams in the streets, people crying assassini, cries of rage, cries of fear, a helicopter shaking the building. The building was shaking with the helicopter, because it's so low, and the spotlight of the helicopter coming in through the window. It quietened down occasionally. We heard people on the roof, which we presume were the police, searching the roof. At one point I came out to the window and filmed a little bit out of the window of the helicopter and some people looking from other buildings. But basically we didn't leave until the helicopter left, and there was no more cries. And when we came out we found a very shocking scene.
You have been testifying in court yesterday.
Yes.
Had you ever been in an English court?
Yes.
Can you tell me, was there a big difference between the English court and the Italian court?
Very much so. It was, testifying in court was quite strange. It seemed such an open and shut case. The evidence is so much against the police. And the police prosecutors ask such silly questions, and then they try to pick up points, in places where you just think it's obviously nonsense.
The
police defence, yes. Sorry, the police defence, yes. Yes, it seems they haven't almost got a case to, they've lost the case as far as I can see, and the only option they have is to make the case last as long as possible until it gets forgotten, to try and, put obstacles in the way of the case. Is their defence, I think. I think they did, a BBC camera person did an interview with them and they actually said that, the violence was extreme, and our defence is basically to slow it down until the case disappears.
They asked you, and they repeated that question for at least 10 times, what you saw exactly with one eye in the camera and the other eye,
it was very surreal. If you imagine 4 years later, they were discussing, was I looking into the camera at this moment, or was I looking at the building at this moment? And they were trying to establish that in the 2 seconds where I possibly wasn't looking, a hail of bricks and petrol bombs landed on the police and caused them to be so violent. But it was so obviously not true, and I think I managed to put that across in the witness box.